Just seeing people playing pretend and being really creative on the stage just made me feel like I had found something where I was going to feel like I belonged to. And my parents started putting me in theater classes, and it really was one of the first memories I had of finding a space that I had never seen before. I had never experienced something like that before. Unfortunately, I can't sing. I wish I could say that was like the impetus to a career in music theater, but that I never developed that skill. As a joke, I guess I would say it it impacts my life in a significant way. But I took Peter on a date very early on to the Chicago Art Museum or the Art Institute. And I don't know a lot about
I'm muted,
art,
so just tell me.
but I had memorized the title Nighthawks by Hopper. And when we walked into that room, I was like, oh, isn't that that's Nighthawks, right? By Hopper. And Pete was like, oh my gosh, yeah, I think that is. I was like, yeah, it's a really great piece. Love that piece. And he mentioned it like in the future. And he was like, yeah, I was really taken by your knowledge of art at the Art Institute. It's like mission accomplished.
Awesome. What do you wish people knew about Pete that only you see?
Well, I worry about him sometimes because, I watch a lot of the clips in the news and try to see like what his day is like and what he's talking about. And I'm there with him when we're on the trail together, watching him do the press gaggles. And unfortunately, he talks about the same stuff a lot. And I feel like my interactions with folks and my schedule puts me in very different types of conversations. And maybe it's not true for Pete, but I worry that he kind of gets painted into boxes and bubbles, that people need to, pundits and journalists and folks need to figure out what to do with him, right? Even this president's trying to figure out who he is and what to do with him. They kind of paint him into different boxes and bubbles because it's easier to talk about people when you put them in a box, or you're operating in one bubble. And Pete is such a complex person that you can't just put him into one box and say you know who he is. And even when he's out there being so impressive in the last few days, I've been mesmerized by how presidential he appears to be in his interviews and the ways in which he talks about foreign policy and protecting Americans and honoring those in our armed forces. I worry that sometimes when you're talking about the same things every day and people ask you the same questions every day, or when he goes to a rally and talks to folks about the VA and veterans and talks to a mom about her kid rationing insulin, has these really beautiful interactions with people on the ground. Then he goes to a press gaggle and they want to talk about all the hot stuff happening on Twitter. I worry that he doesn't always get to express who he is and all of the other things that make him such a beautiful, well-rounded person, how artistic he is and how loving he is and how compassionate he is. I think some of that comes through in just the ways in which he presents himself, and you can kind of see as just a really authentic person. But you don't get to see like the really loving guy that I get to come home to. When I got home tonight, he had left me a letter, and he's known for doing that. And he'll like leave letters in my bag so I can find them on the trail, or he's really good at planning surprises. And you don't always get to see that side of him. You don't get to see the really loving husband that I see. But I'm glad. I feel though in this process, I've never been disappointed in Peter, and I've never felt like he has ever presented himself as anyone but who I know him to be. When we got into this project, I asked him to make me two promises: that one, we would be our authentic selves, that we would not become different people, that if we were going to go out there and do this, that we would at least do it as ourselves. No one was going to tell us who to be. And two, that we would have fun. And I feel like we're still having fun, and Peter is still being his authentic self. And that makes me very proud as his husband. And I hope you see that reflected in his work and in his words.
Perfect. This is a good question. Belonging is such an important value in this campaign. Can you describe what belonging means to you and how each of us can help create a sense of belonging for our kids and everyone in our communities?
Yeah, I think we can get really overwhelmed with the divisiveness and the nastiness and the vitriol and get sucked into social media arguments and having strangers on the internet tell us what we're worth and what we're made of. But some of the best work that comes out of being out on the campaign trail is just sitting with young people and listening to them. Even with teachers, actually, when we were workshopping K-12 policy, we went out and listened to teachers. I thought that teachers would be tired of being talked to, that we should show up and just listen. And part of the work that I love so much is just showing up and listening, because people have a lot to say, and they feel like they have a lot to lose. And you can do tremendous good by showing up for people and offering a shoulder or an ear. And in this season of politics and nastiness, it's so important that we show up for other people too. And it's one of the things I love about visiting our field offices when folks are phone banking or getting ready to go out and canvass, is they're working alongside neighbors and people from their community that they've never met before, but now they are involved in a community that is not only showing up because they believe that Peter should be the next president of the United States, but they show up because they believe in their neighbors. And now all of a sudden these people are in a room with 50 other people who are there because they believe in one another. And in a way, they love one another, that they believe all of those people in the room are worthy of love and acceptance. And I know it can get overwhelming and it can get so nasty. But part of the reason you showed up tonight is because you believe in that better future too. And in anything that you do, either conversations you have with your families or your friends or your social networks, it's really important to let other people know why you're there and how you're there for them. And I give a lot of credit to the people in my life, especially when I was putting myself through college and just trying to figure out who I was and where I fit. People who opened up to me to let me know that they were a safe place to go when it got really hard. And I had never had such a sense of belonging until people told me that I belong. And I think that's what we all want for one another, and that's what we want for this country. So one, thank you for showing up. Please continue to show up, not only to do this work for Peter and for this campaign, but you're doing it because you believe in this future, but you also believe in one another. So I will just say thank you for doing that for each other as well.
Amazing. One of the highlights for me is just seeing all the stories that are coming out from nationwide, from all your volunteers and all the efforts that you're doing. I'm interested to know what's been one of the most inspiring stories that you have heard, Chasten, on the trail when you've been on the road.
So many. I think so many young people. I'm a little biased. I'm a teacher. Love young people. I can't stop thinking about this mom and her kid, Dale and Audie. I believe they're from Los Angeles. And I was at the LJ in Iowa, and we went out in front of one of the convention centers where folks were doing a big visibility stint. They were waving the signs and blasting some music and dancing, and we're just saying hello to everyone and thanking everyone for being there. And then I met Dale and Audie, and Dale explains that they were staunch introverts, that they rarely ever left California. They don't go out much, not really interested in being around large groups of people. Were drawn into this campaign by the loving community that they had found in Pete for America. And I guess that they had expressed their interest in going to Iowa for the LJ. And the Barnstormers community put money forth so that they could fly to Des Moines and be there. And then they're out there meeting all of these strangers in the drizzling cold rain in Des Moines people are dancing and singing and chanting and hugging people that they had never met. And just to think about this kid in LA who was wondering where they fit in and how they fit in. And I'm wondering if, similarities to what it was like for me growing up, will I ever fit in? Will there ever be a community for me to see them out in the streets of Des Moines with this incredible community that we had built? And it's just a testament to the incredible people that are part of this campaign. Every single person that has donated to this campaign or volunteered hours for this campaign, you have saved so many lives. You've impacted so many lives. I wish sometimes I could just scoop you all up and take you out on the road with me so you could see it. You could see it in the faces of the people who come up to me every day. Moms who tell me they've never seen their kid come out of their shell like that before, or have confidence in themselves before, or people, 40, 50 years old who finally found the confidence to come out because they see Pete on a national stage. The amount of lives that you've all impacted by continuing to spread our message and help the visibility of this campaign is truly remarkable. And any time I meet a person on the trail who tells me that this campaign has saved their life, it's the best feeling in the world. And it's truly what keeps me going forward. And thank you all so much for helping to continue all of that work and keep pushing us forward as well.
What will you do to make the White House a warm and welcoming place for all people?
I don't know how much liberty I have with, the grounds, but I look forward to just making sure that when the people walk past the White House, they know that they belong there. That is an institution that represents the country and what makes this country good. I look forward to welcoming artists back into the White House. I look forward to welcoming young people back into the White House. And also, I've met so many brilliant people in their communities, running arts organizations or after-school organizations or community health centers, that we need to invite them to the White House and celebrate all of the work that they're doing, life-saving work, whether you're providing a safe space for a kid after school or you're providing necessary care for the LGBTQ community, especially in rural America, these places we meet the most remarkable people doing life-changing and saving work. And I think the White House could be a beacon of hope when people see the amount of people we invite into it and the people that we celebrate within those walls. And outside of that, I just hope that when people go to bed at night, they know that the president and the first gentleman are going to bed there thinking about people and how they can make people's lives better and how they can do the most good for the most people. We have a lot of work to do. I know that, but I also am heartened by this community. I know we're all going to do it together.
All right, we have time for one more question. What have you learned during the campaign that has most surprised you?
Early on, I was surprised by the hurt. I was surprised by how hurt people were. That everywhere I went, it seemed that people were really torn apart, and a lot of people have given up hope or are very close to giving up hope in this country. And then I meet folks like yourselves. I meet the sweetest, kindest, most loving group of volunteers and organizers and staffers. I think it is a testament to the future that we are going to build together in this country, that you go to these Canvas kickoffs or you go to phone banks and you meet people who are sitting next to neighbors that they had never met before, and now they're having dinner with one another, or their kids are playing together, coloring together while their parents make phone calls, and you slowly see this community being built from the ground up. People who come together and honor and acknowledge that maybe they don't have everything in common, maybe they don't agree on everything, and maybe they all come to the table from very different backgrounds, very different persuasions, but they all have one goal, and that is to make life better for each and every person sitting at that table. And that has surprised me and continued to lift me up throughout the entire process. Especially when you do these 16-hour days, you're exhausted. You get to the last phone bank, and it's the thing that's standing in between you and dinner. And then you could spend hours in that room meeting people and hearing their stories and watching them interact with one another and build one another up. And I think we're onto something really big here together.
Amazing. Before I hand it back over to Chasten for just some final thoughts, I just want to thank all of you for joining us tonight. And once again, for all the work you all are putting in. It's so great to see all your faces. I know all your names from what I've heard from Ayadeli and him sort of passing along some of the stories that you have out in the field. And I just want you all to know, we see it. We see how hard you're working. We know that it's not easy. And we know that we haven't made it completely easy for you. But I promise you, we are making things happen. We are making an impact. And it's all because of the work that you all are doing. And so I just thank you from the bottom of my heart that you are here with us and that we're fighting alongside each and every one of you. And thank you for all the work that you have done, for all the work that you're going to continue to do. Please know, Ayadeli and myself, we are here. If you have any thoughts along the way, I want to hear them. I also saw some amazing recommendations at the beginning part of the chat, and I want you to know that I saw that. I'm taking it with me at the end of this, and we will make sure to get some things moving for you in Virginia with some of the people that need to be reached out to. Any flags like that, please know that I'm here. You can always Twitter DM me. I will answer you. Some of you have already done that, and I try to get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you for all the hard work that you're doing. It's an honor to watch this program come together and to see the amazing work that you are doing. So thank you very much for that. And Chasten, I'll hand over to you for some final thoughts.
Right. Well, thank you, everyone. Again, I just want to say it is really nice to end this day seeing all your faces and knowing that you're all here because you believe in Peter and you believe in this moment. I also saw some fun characters out there. Amanda, I see your puppy. Thank you for bringing your dogs. Vinaya, I see your baby. Hi. Too cute. Thank you, everyone, so much for being part of this movement. Oh, Amy's got a dog now too. It's gonna be the rush of the dogs. Thanks for being part of this. Thanks for believing in one another. Thanks for lifting one another up. I will say we're getting down to the wire. I'm sure Ayadeli will be reminding you of that often. Please stay in touch with your volunteer coordinators and folks making it happen on the ground. We really got to keep applying as much oil to the wheel as we can. So if you can make phone calls, if you can show up, help your neighbors out, and obviously donations go a long way, but so does kindness. So thank you for both of them. Just know that we appreciate you so much. We can't wait to celebrate with you very soon. So I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and I hope to see you very soon. Take care.